Hey everyone! I'm doing my video project on 20th century Japanese artist Tsuchiya Koitsu, who was a popular printmaker working in woodblock color prints until his death in 1949. I'm going to start by showing you a couple of my personal favorite prints of his, just to give you an idea of what his work is like. This piece is titled Summer Moon at Miyajima. You'll notice Koitsu puts a lot of thought into lighting and color in his works, and this piece does a beautiful job of demonstrating that. It has a quiet beauty to it that really shows off Koitsu's technical skill. This next work, Nikko's Sacred Bridge, is another of my favorites because its cheerful yet peaceful energy shows the broad range of emotion and mood Koitsu is able to convey in his works, especially when compared to a more solemn and muted piece like Summer Moon at Miyajima. The intricacy of the details, particularly in the architecture and plants, is another signature aspect of Koitsu's work. Alright, now I'll give you a little background on Koitsu himself. He was born in 1879 in rural Japan under the name Koichi. At 15, he left home for Tokyo, where he intended to study under an apprentice of Tsuchiya Koitsu, who was a master of the ukiyo-e, or floating world, printmaking style. Kobayashi himself ended up taking an interest in Koitsu and offered him an apprenticeship. Koitsu accepted and studied with Kobayashi for the next 19 years of his life. After that point, Koitsu struck out on his own. His first prints were war propaganda prints for the Sino-Japanese War, which he created between the years 1894 and 1895. Here's an example of one of these war prints, titled Japan-China Meeting for Peace Negotiations. Notice the thin inked lines and simple coloration. Returning to the pieces I showed earlier, it's clear that, in comparison to his earliest works, Koitsu's style and technique developed greatly over the course of his work. His understanding of mood, lighting, color harmony, and line work became much more pronounced as he moved from his early stages to his professional career. After his debut into the art world with his war prints, Koitsu changed gears and joined the Shin-Hanga movement, which began in the early 20th century and aimed to revive traditional ukiyo-e style. Starting in 1941, Koitsu started work in this style for Japanese publisher Watanabe. These are some examples of the prints Koitsu created during his time working for Watanabe Publishing. During this period, he focused on relatively soft atmospheric landscapes and established himself as a master of mood and color harmony. He also developed his method of intricate and detailed line work, often in dark and muted colors rather than black, that can be found throughout many of his professional works. When comparing Koitsu's Shin-Hanga style woodblock prints to the traditional ukiyo-e style prints of Hiroshige and Hokusai, the differences between the two styles becomes clear. The Shin-Hanga style, while inspired by ukiyo-e style prints of an earlier date, puts more emphasis on detail and color harmony, as well as atmospheric effects. The ukiyo-e style lends itself more to leaving space empty in an almost minimalistic fashion, and tends to separate the colors into distinct blocks. Later on in his career, Koitsu also began work for publishers Doi and Kawaguchi. During this time, Koitsu moved away from the softer and more atmospheric landscapes he specialized in during his time under Watanabe, and began experimenting in scenes with relatively high contrast lighting and shadow. His skill at depicting these bolder scenes with brilliant but harmonious color schemes became a hallmark of his work. Koitsu's work concluded during his time working for Doi and Kawaguchi with his death in 1949. Thanks for watching my video! Koitsu was an excellent artist who really inspires my own work, and these sources are a great place to look if you want to know more about him.